Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell give an interesting behind-the-scenes look on day one of the NFL draft. Let's talk about it. Hello, everyone. My name is Derek, and welcome back to Detroit Lions Syndicate. You already know what we do on this channel. We talk all things about your favorite team, the Detroit Lions. So nobody talks about our team like we do. So become part of the Syndicate and hit that subscription button. You won't regret it. The Detroit Lions walked away with one of the best drafts in for the 2022 NFL Draft, ranking in the top 3 by most analysts. And we touched on it just a bit yesterday, but the NFL was upset that the Detroit Lions turned in their pick so fast. Now, I was on record saying that the Detroit Lions, there was no way the Detroit Lions were going to pass on Aiden Hutchinson if he was there at number 2. Turns out that I was right. And, I'm a toot my own horn right now. I was wrong about Malik Willis coming off the board at 6, but, you win some, you lose some. But the NFL was irritated because they like to milk out day one. Day one takes about 4 hours, starts at 8, has to be some drama, usually ends close to 12 to get through all 32 picks. And because the Detroit Lions knew immediately that Aiden Hutchinson was the pick, they immediately turned in their card within a minute, and the NFL broadcast said the pick was in. Then they had to draw it out some more. That's coming out from Dan Campbell, who has not formally spoke to the media about the draft yet. He did talk to Albert Breer, and that's where this information is coming from, that he was upset, that the NFL was upset that they turned it in so fast. I guess they were too aggressive for the NFL. So anyway, our coach knew what he wanted, and our GM did too. I just got to backtrack just a little bit. Everybody knows my reaction with the Jameson Williams pick. That was after day one, and I was upset that we came up and we gave up what we did, knowing that we needed defense. And I really had to see what the Lions did as far as day 2 and day 3, because I know our defense was ranked in the bottom 5. But seeing as how the Detroit Lions went 8 defensive players, at that time it was a 1-1. They wind up going an additional 6 more, man. Every pick that they picked after Jameson Williams was on defense. So that made me feel a lot better about getting the best wide receiver in the class. I've watched other people's breakdowns of Jameson Williams, and I'm telling you what, man, this kid is the real deal. While he's not as bulky as, let's say, a Calvin Johnson, the dude's route running is impeccable. And if he gets behind you, it is a certified wrap, man. He can turn on the Jets and be gone. He said he would have run the fastest combine ever if he would have been healthy enough to run it at the NFL Combine. So the more I marinate, and seeing as how we cleaned up on defense, I feel a lot better about that pick. But apparently, as the first round started progressing, we took Aiden Hutchinson, and between pick 3 and 11, there were some talks going on between the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. And it was all contingent on how the draft board fell if the Minnesota Vikings would take the trade and allow the Detroit Lions to come up. Talked about the Detroit Lions trading back from number 2, and we rarely talked about them trading up. We actually had a scenario I did not too long ago before the draft about them coming up potentially from 32. But there was a point in that first round where Brad Holmes knew he had to go and get Jameson Williams. As the draft board began to fall, here's what happened next. Here's how the Detroit Lions got their hands on wide receiver Jameson Williams. Then he started making calls with teams in the range they believe Williams could go. Eventually, he found a willing partner in new Minnesota general manager, as long as the board fell in a way that pleased both teams. On draft night, it almost all came crashing down when the New Orleans Saints, a team Holmes knew wanted a wide receiver, traded up to 11. Luckily for him, Ohio State receiver Chris Olave was the pick. So as Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are watching this board fall, man, and pre-draft, they knew that this is the guy that they wanted. I think that they didn't think they had a shot to get him, knowing that obviously they weren't going to take him at 2, that they always had maybe a trade-up scenario in the works. And we talked about, it's funny because we talked about a package deal. This is before the NFL draft that would include the 31st and 34th pick. I'm guessing maybe around pick 7 or 8. And it looks as though the Detroit Lions began making calls probably immediately, with no takers between number 3 and number 11. But they got the new general manager of the Minnesota Vikings to bite and take the deal. Let me know in the comments below if you think we fleeced the Minnesota Vikings. That's a word that I got very familiar with over the weekend. We discussed yesterday Dan Campbell's thoughts of both Aiden Hutchinson and Jameson Williams. But how did Brad Holmes feel as the draft started to kind of sway the way where they could probably get their hands on the wide receiver? Every team's situation is different, and so I said, maybe the Saints won't take Williams because he's coming off the knee injury. I'm like trying to talk myself into it. I'm just like, I'm waiting. So then when I see Olave, I'm just like, God. And it just kind of erupted, and that's when I went and called and said, man, we're good. This is the second year. It seems as though Brad Holmes has knocked the draft out of the park. We wonder a lot about general managers and head coaches getting along. Heard a lot about Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, some friction coming near the end of that tenure. And it looks like these two guys really, what they've been saying from the beginning, are on the same page when it comes to what they want to do and the direction they want to go with this team. But Dan Campbell, we talked about yesterday how happy he was with the first 2 picks. But how does Dan Campbell feel that Brad Holmes did in the draft? This is 2 years in a row. I feel like Brad is knocking it out of the park. He's got a great vision, and he and I share the same vision. But just, man, how he sees this thing playing out and the moves that he needed to make, and to be able to do what he did with Minnesota and come away with this player, and yet for us to still have 46 and to be able to get Josh Pascal out of it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I said, my initial reaction was based on the fact that our defense was ranked bottom 5 last year, and I'm sick of being at the bottom of the league. I saw Jameson Williams and the talent that was there, but I also saw our defense. And if you go watch the previous video about that, from that reaction, it was predominantly because I wanted defense. They must have heard me screaming from my basement, and they went and got all defense after that draft pick. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but hey, maybe they did. You never know. Brad Holmes was able to work his magic 2 years in a row. And I'm telling you what, man, there's a lot of in Brad we trust and all this other stuff. We did the same thing with Patricia and Quinn, but this feels a lot different. This guy had the knowledge before he got here, and he's making moves, man. It's hard to put faith and trust in an organization when you keep seeing the same thing. But I must admit, after the defensive haul, and only then was I able to really settle down and appreciate the Jameson Williams pick. So let me know in the comments below, man. Did the Detroit Lions knock this draft out of the park? I've been getting a lot of A's in the comment section about this. And listen, we don't get a lot of love from the national media. And I told you guys that the narrative for the Detroit Lions was on the come up, especially after Matthew Stafford won the Super Bowl 1 year removed from the Detroit Lions. So expect big things to come, and they could come as early as this year. I'm telling you. Just keep your eye out. My name is Derek. This is Detroit Lions Syndicate. Whether you are a subscriber or a returning viewer, you are the lifeline of this channel. Without you, there is no growth. So if you're a returning viewer and not yet a subscriber, make sure to join the Syndicate and become a subscriber. And if you are a new viewer, keep sticking around. If you like what you see, keep coming back. You guys are awesome. And as always, go Lions.